Hello everyone, my name is Michael Whitman. I'm the founder of Blue Sky Biochar, and I want to welcome you to my home. It's a breezy day here in Thousand Oaks, California, and we're going to be talking about the world premiere of the FabStove. This is a clean cook stove that works on biomass, cooks very efficiently, and at the end, after the cooking is done, you actually can get a small batch of very high quality biochar out of it. So we're going to go through all the steps of working with the stove. But before I do that, I want to explain to you that this stove is one of the most highly advanced clean cook stoves ever made. I have been working with clean cook stoves for many years. I've built them myself. Anytime I find one out on the marketplace, I buy it just to have it in my collection. And I've never seen one that works quite like this, the FabStove. It was developed by two incredible guys. One is Dr. Paul Anderson. Paul is a PhD scientist who is one of the basic developers and pioneers of the T.L.U.D top-lit updraft form of making biochar. And there's many different apparatus that you can make with the T.L.U.D design. Paul is an amazing guy. I've known him for years. He's a pioneer in the biochar community as well. The other person who worked on this is a guy named Dave Lello from South Africa. He's a brilliant engineer who engineered the stove. I had some input into it, but most of the work was done by Dave and by Paul. So the FabStove works with the T.L.U.D design top-lit updraft. It uses a small amount of biomass, and in this case, we recommend using wood pellets to use it to do your burn with. You can do wood chips, you can do other things, but it's the wood pellets that give the density for a higher heat and a longer burn. So these are the wood pellets that we use right here. They're standardized pellets. A 40-pound bag will give you in excess of 20 burns, probably about 24 to 25 burns with this. And they generally cost from $6 to $9 for a bag, so it's very inexpensive to utilize this. Now this stove is a great camping stove. I wouldn't call it a backpack stove, but it's certainly a camping stove, a tailgating stove for tailgating parties. It's great for your backyard and any other use. There are people who are interested in survival mode of life, and this is a great stove for that because you can cook on it and not have to, and you be totally independent of everything else in the world. You don't have to be connected to anything to utilize it. It has a little fan in the bottom, a computer fan, which runs on this little battery that comes with it, and this is a solar charging battery, so you can either charge it up a USB, comes with a little cord, or you can just leave it in the sun and it'll charge itself up, and once it's charged it'll go a very long time because the fan uses so little energy. It also has a primary air vent on the bottom with an adjustment, and we'll show you that as we start working with it. So what we're going to do is fill it up with some wood pellets. And let me pull the chamber out of here. This is the firebox chamber, as you can see. It does not get hot on the outside. The stove does not get hot on the outside. It's very safe to work around. You won't get burned with it, obviously, unless you put your hand inside the flame. But everything else is pretty well insulated and easy to operate without any heat building up. So inside of the cylinder, there are some holes at the very top. So what we're going to do is we're going to simply fill this up just below the holes with the wood pellets. Now that we've got all the pellets inside the stove at the proper level, just below the holes that are there, we're going to put in a little starter to make this start up. There's different ways you can light it up. Some people just use a little torch and just light it directly by holding on there. I prefer to use this little gel starter, and what we're going to do is just take a little of this gel and squeeze it on there, and then we will light that once we get it in here. But before we do that, I want to show you that there are other methods of using for lighting. This is a little dome thing that used for barbecues and for stoves to light them up. You can just place that on the center, put your torch on it to light it up. There's also these bars that you can break up in small pieces and put them in there and use it to light that way. Do not pour any flammable material into the stove to light it. You want to light it from the top. It's top lit updraft, so it always needs to be lit from the top. So what we're going to do now is put this chamber, the fire chamber, back in. Is a little chimney that goes down onto the top of the firebox. Once the chimney is in there, the firebox is set in there. This little chimney gives a more efficient burn. Now in the back of the stove, there's two little studs that are set there so that the fire chamber only goes into the right place. So it keeps you in the right spot in the center of the top of the stove. So at this point, we're going to use our little torch here, and we're going to light the gel. Going to open up our vent and turn our fan on to low. This is open all the way, this is closed. We want to open it up all the way. And now I'm looking down in here and the gel is lighting and the top of the pellets are starting to char. Once they get going, the whole top will be evenly going and we'll be able to start cooking at that point with it. You can use this to boil water, you can use it to cook things, you can make popcorn. We sometimes use our little kettle here. It'll boil the water pretty darn quickly. Or we can use a big pot like this on there, and you can use the biggest pot you can imagine on top of this stove. It's extremely sturdy. You can put a very heavy pot with a lot of ingredients on it. In fact, you could literally even stand on this stove if you chose to. So it's very sturdy in that respect. Now, while we're operating the stove, we've got some adjustments that we can do depending on how much heat we want coming out, how high a flame we want. Now, one of the things about this stove that's different than other clean cook stoves and biomass stoves is they generally have a very erratic flame that just comes out of here. This stove has a perfect flame. It's almost like cooking on a propane stove or a gas stove. It's one of these just perfect flame that comes out of here. So that's another thing that sets this stove apart from all other clean cook stoves around the world. So we have our 2-speed fan, high and low. And you can hear the difference by the sound of how much air is blowing through. And at the bottom here, this is the primary air. This is off, and this is all the way open. So by adjusting this and the fan, you can adjust the flame to whatever type of cooking you're going to be doing. Obviously, if you're boiling water, you want it on full throttle. On the high speed of the fan, and the vent all the way open. Now, right now, it's already starting, and I'm looking down here and I'm seeing this most amazing beautiful flame that typical cook stoves do not do. It's very even, it's not erratic, it's very circular, it actually has a little bit of a vortex to it, and that's what separates this stove from all other clean cook stoves, is the way it does the burn. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the other aspects of the stove while this is burning. Right now it's ready to cook, it's got a perfect flame on top, and this should cook for about an hour at the full throttle, so you get a very long burn out of it. So some people have asked about using wood chips, and wood chips will work. However, you'll get a shorter burn and not quite as hot a burn because the pellets, not only are they very dense, but there's a lot of density of the pellets in the stove. Just a little bit of air. The more air in between, the less burn you're going to have, the burn time, and a little bit less heat with it. But you can burn other things with it. We just highly recommend using the wood pellets. You'll be much happier as you're working with it using the wood pellets. And again, they're very inexpensive. Big 40-pound bag, $6 to $9. You get 20 to 25 burns out of that, so you don't need very much. The stove is designed for all types of cooking. So anything you want to cook on here, you can, just like any other stove that you have. It's universal. You can take it anywhere, use it anywhere. It's a lot of fun to use, and it only weighs 11 pounds, so it's pretty lightweight. It's 12 inches by 12 inches by 14 inches high, so it's a relatively small size. It's all self-contained, so there's no parts that you have to put together. It comes pre-assembled in the box. This is the box that it comes in, and you can also use this box to take it with you when you go camping or wherever you're gonna go with it. I always have one set up in my backyard at all times so that I can use it for whatever I want to make back here, or to demonstrate it because we have tours coming through our garden quite often. We do workshops back here, and we're always wanting to show off this new stove. This is the world premiere of this stove. It's brand new. This is a very efficient burning stove. As you can see, there's no smoke coming out of it. It's very clean burning. In developing countries around the world, many times people are using either kerosene stoves, or they're deforesting their properties or their environment with wood to make fires to cook their food. And it wastes a lot of wood, and it's very polluting. A lot of disease from respiratory problems that occur. This stove solves that issue. So the FabStove comes pre-assembled in a box with 2 accessory items. One is the solar charging battery, which can either be charged by the sun or it comes with a little cord you can plug into USB to charge it up. Once it's fully charged, it lasts for quite a long time. It also comes with 1 bag of pellets for your first burn, so you can get into working with it right away, and then you can find pellets. They're very widely available. There's so many pellet stoves out there for heating their homes. There's pellet barbecues. Pellets are readily available. I do recommend getting the pine inexpensive wood pellets. There are those hardwood pellets that are used for flavoring meats and such to cook with. Unnecessary to use those. They're a little bit more expensive than the inexpensive pine ones. So get the inexpensive 40-pound bag. Should cost you anywhere from $6 to $9 a bag in most hardware and supply stores and big box stores. So wood pellets are quite readily available. And when you go out camping, you don't need to bring very much with you. It uses just under 2 pounds for each burn. So you're not using an awful lot of it, and it's not very difficult to take it along with you. It doesn't take up a lot of space. It's just fantastic how this stove is so much more efficient than every other stove that I've ever worked with or built over the last 15 years. So we're very proud to have this stove available. It is fairly new. It only just came in a few weeks ago. We've been developing it for about 2 years now. So here we are, the FabStove. It's up and running. The flame is absolutely gorgeous. And like I said, we can boil water very quickly with it. But otherwise, any method of cooking you want to use, whatever pot or apparatus you want to put on top of this, you can do. Okay, so we've been cooking for about an hour. The pellets are fully used up. And what we're going to do now is pull the chamber out, lay it down on a flat surface, put something over the top, let it cool down, and we have this beautiful biochar that's fully carbonized that'll break apart nice and easy. So we just move this little lever here that raises the little chimney inside, pull it out, lay it on a flat surface. There's a special heat-resistant foam on the bottom of the firebox, so it keeps a really good airtight seal. And then I made this little apparatus out of an old toilet bowl brush I just happened to have. We were throwing it away, and I said, wait a minute, I could use that. You could also use a saucepan or a piece of metal or whatever you want to use to put on the top. Now this thing is going to cool down, and the pellets, the wood pellets, will stay in a carbon state without creating any ash. This is a wonderful aspect of this stove. Other stoves, we have to douse them before they turn to ash into water, and then they don't fully carbonize, and they're a little harder to break apart. This allows it to fully carbonize and break apart very easily, which is ideal for biochar. So that's the FabStove. It is fabulous.